Okay, this is the car driving interior workshop. First thing we're going to go to do is we're going to download the assets, and there it is, driving car assets. So click that and download it. It downloads in our Finder. We'll double click it to open it up. Drag that assets file to our desktop. We'll create a new folder called, we'll call it car driving interior. And we'll put our assets inside it. Go inside, please. There we go. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to open up the car driving interior in Photoshop. And I'm going to use Command plus and hold down the space bar to create the hand so I can drag it down, and Command plus. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the windows of this image. First thing we need to do is double click on that layer to unlock it. We are going to select the pen tool, and we'll make sure that the pen is set to path and not shape. And now what we're going to do is we are going to create a path that's all the way along this window so that we can cut it out. And we'll start by clicking here, and then I'm going to click, and I'm still holding down the mouse, and I'm going to drag, and then I'm going to go down here and click and drag a little bit just so that we have the handles for the adjustments layer. Click and drag, click and drag. Now I'm going to hold down the command button, and it's going to allow me to kind of adjust that a little tighter. Now I'm going to hold down the command button again and select this last one so that I can continue creating my path. If we look at paths, if you don't do that and you click again and it creates a second work path, then you know you've got to go back, because ultimately we need to have a closed loop for this to work. Click and drag because it's a bend. Click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. I'm going to hold down the command button, tighten that up a little bit. Hold the command button, pick the last one, slide it. Okay, there it is. And now when I hit the last one, you'll see that there's the close tool button. So when I select it, we've got the close tool. So we want to make sure that in the layer panel that the layer is selected, and we go to the mask panel, and we'll right click on that, and we will say make selection, and we will tell it a 0 feather, and we'll say OK. And then all we have to do is hit the delete button, and it'll delete that window, and I'll hit Command D to unselect. Now I'm holding down the space bar so that we can now drag over and we can cut out the rear windows. Holding down the command button to get this arrow. And I've got my new work path. Make sure it's selected, make selection, enter, delete. Holding down the space bar to drag it over, we've got this little bit of window to cut out. Make selection, hit enter, Command D to deselect, and now we just have to go over and cut out our front windshield, which is 2 pieces. We can actually start outside the comp to make this mask. Holding down the tab. Make selection, enter, delete, Command D, and now we just gotta cut out this last section. Holding down the command button to alter the shape. If you hold the option button, it'll do just one side of the handle, so you can work on them independently. Holding down the tab again to select it so that it's one complete shape. Okay. And right click on the work path, make selection, hit enter, hit delete, Command D. And now I'm going to hit Command minus to shrink it down, and so we've cut out the window like we want. And now we are going to save this as a Photoshop file, and we'll save it into our assets folder. Okay. Next thing we will open a new file, and we will open up Landscape 1. Alright, and the first thing we are going to do, we're going to use this to make our rolling background. And so what we need to do is that we need to make it seamless, so that this side, when it's in a big cylinder and spinning around, that this side will match this side. And the way we do that is that by taking somewhere in the middle and creating it to the sides. And so we will use the offset function. And so we will go to Filter, Other, Offset, and we will set the horizontal offset to 2335. Okay, and now this left and the right will match perfectly, and all we have to do is use the cloning stamp to make this all match. So I'm going to hit Command plus to make it bigger, and I'm going to double click our layer so that it's unlocked. And we're going to go to the cloning tool, and I kind of like the size of that tool. If you don't like the size that you're getting, you can click up here to pick the size and the hardness. And actually I'm going to make mine just slightly soft. So first thing you'll do is you'll hold down the Option key to get a target, and then you'll left click, and then if you click and just hold down the mouse and drag to the right, it will clone that data just above it in a straight line. Okay, and I'm going to now click, I'm going to hold down the Option key here and click, and then I'm going to click and hold, and so if we erased the copyright mark, and now what we want to do is we want to add more grass over this dirt. So I'm going to hold down the Option button, and I'm going to set up here, and we'll just drag that to the right. At some point it'll stop. Okay. Okay. And now we've reached the end. So I'm going to come over here, hold down Option, click a new target, and drag in some more dirt, grass, over our dirt, over our foreground. Hold down the Option key to select a new target here. And that way we get a little bit, by picking a new target each time, we get a little more randomness. I'm going to hold down the space bar so I can get to the end of my file, or get closer to the end of my file. And we will hit Option, and we will drag some more. If we go down, I'm still holding the mouse button down to the left and getting the whole file drawn in there. Now I'll draw to the right until we get it filled up. Okay, holding down the space bar to get to the end. Hold down Option, click again, and we'll fill up the rest of this road. Okay, I'm going to hit Command minus. Now so the whole road looks good, and now all we have to do is match our mountains and our sky. So let's, I'm going to hit Command plus, get a little bigger. The easiest thing to do will be to add more sky. So I want to make my clone stamp bigger so that I can take care of more business. I'm going to hold down the Option tool, pick a bunch of clouds. Oops. I hit undo. Went a little too far. Hit undo. Let's start down low and go up. And I'm going to just kind of okay, now I need to make my clone stamp smaller because I want to okay, well actually I'll hold the clone stamp here. Create a new ridge line. And then we'll just need to bleed these guys together. So I'm going to hit the clone stamp here. Alright. So I'll hit Command minus. And that is a really good seamless background now. So I'm going to, let's save it. File, save as. And make sure that goes into the assets. Now we can close that, and we will open After Effects. And I'm going to double click in that and go to our project file, import all of our assets. And now, before we go much farther, let's save this project in that same folder, but not in the assets. Hard drive, interior, Kibby, and save. Next we'll make a new comp. We will call it car drive interior with your name. We want it to be HDTV 1080 2997. We'll make it 3 seconds long. Click OK. First we'll grab our Photoshop file but from the landscape and we'll drag it down. And then we'll take our car and we'll drag it down. Let's hit scale and we will scale up our car until it fills the frame, and hit the letter P and we'll reposition it to there. Landscape, let's hit the letter P and let's adjust it so that we see some rolling mountains, see some change in our background. That's good. So now we will we want to apply CC cylinder. So if you hit CY, you'll see CC cylinder, and we'll drag it to the landscape layer. And if we blink out the top layer and we rotate the Y, you'll see our background spinning. Okay? So there's a stopwatch here, so it's keyframeable. I'll hit reset. And so at the beginning of our comp, we will hit the Y keyframe, and I'll hit end to go to the end of the comp. And we want one complete rotation. For our second keyframe, if we hit the letter, so with landscape highlighted, if you hit the quick key U, it'll show you all the keyframes that you've made so far. We will turn back on our foreground layer, and we'll RAM preview by hitting 0 on the numeric keypad. We'll see the background going by. Alright. Now the next thing we want to do is that's happening off in the background, so let's add a camera blur to it. That'll soften it up a little bit back there. And now it's a little dark, and so let's go to color correction, and we'll take the levels and we'll drag it down, and let me slide this open so we can see all the levels. So basically, if we by dragging this triangle down, we're increasing the highlights, and this is the gamma correction, and it kind of adjusts our middle grays. And typically a car, when you're doing a driving shot, the car is slightly overexposed from the interior. And in fact, I think I want to make the car interior a little darker. So we'll drag the levels into there and darken the car up a little bit. And where is hue saturation? We'll add that to there, and we'll pull down some of the saturation. All right. And so generally what happens when a car is driving is that it wiggles a little bit. And so we will, in our window, we will type in wiggle, and we'll take wiggle position and we will put it onto our car interior. And it's already kind of set up to do a little bit of wiggling for us, and we will just adjust the parameters. We want wiggle speed to stay at 1, and we want wiggle amount to be 3, and it's actually kind of designed so that those are the only parameters that we're messing with. So we'll hit RAM preview and see what that looks like. Alright, that wiggles pretty good, only we're kind of leaking up top a little bit, and so let's just increase our scale a little more on our car so that we don't leak off the top. Now the next thing we'll do is we will create a new adjustment layer, and we will, in masks, we will pick the ellipse tool and we'll double click it, and So we've created this elliptical mask. If you hold down the Option key, we can select one of those bad boys. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a foreground vignette. Hold down the space bar to get to the bottom of this one. And we're going to make the edges a little darker. So I'm going to hit return to rename this vignette. And we want to add another levels to that. Color correction. Levels. And we will just crank the gamma down, and we will make the mask subtract, so it's happening on the outside. And if we click this toggle mask shape, we'll turn off the mask, so that now we're going to mess with feather. We'll twirl down the mask and we'll just increase the feather size. And I'm going to turn on the mask shape, and we're going to make the bottom even darker. Alright, so that looks pretty good, and we can see a before and after. Feels like this is like the shadow of the door being cast on it. Now we'll create another adjustment layer, hit return, and we'll call it, come on now, hit return, we'll call it soft focus. And then we will then we'll create another adjustment layer. Select it, hit return, call it soft focus. We'll go to the camera blur, drag it onto that layer, and we see that it's making the whole thing out of focus. And what we want to do is just create the foreground out of focus, so it looks like we have created some depth of field in our shot. And so we'll create a mask to do that, and so we'll pick the pen tool, and if the pen isn't there, just click right there and select it, and then make sure that this is highlighted, and we will create a mask. And here in the middle I'm going to hold and drag. Okay. Let's crank up the soft focus a little bit. Let's hit 10. Alrighty. And now we just want to increase the feather on this so that it's a little more subtle. We can just hit the letter F to get to the feather key. And let's preview on and off. Okay. And let's RAM preview that. And that looks pretty good. So now let's render it. Composition, pre-render, hard drive, your name. Make sure that it goes to your folder. We will now pick our codec. I want you guys to make it a H.264, 100% quality, no sound, millions of colors, all of that's good. Render it out, either show it to me or post it.